Hello, and welcome back to this episode of the Mushroom Supplies Podcast. I'm your host, Kristina, champion. Name change here. And welcome back, guys.
Just a quick little name change. No big deal. Congratulations.
Just a quick little name change. Everything's fine.
Way to be a champion. Way to pick a name, too, by the way. Holy cow.
I mean, it works. It checks out. It's been a minute. We have a little kerfuffle with our friends over at YouTube. They banned us. We're not really sure why, but let's chat about it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm pretty upset. All the hard work and acknowledgement that we've given everybody that's been a part of our company. It's pretty sad to see the power of YouTube to just shut us down. No real explanation, and there's really nothing for us to do. We filed an appeal. It was immediately denied. There's no other steps, right? So if anybody out there listening has an ability to get a page with 30, 40,000 followers back, let us know. In the meantime, we're going to be doing our best to recreate a lot of the content on different platforms like Vimeo and embed that into our website. So bear with us. We are working hard to get these video tutorials out, and we're really just trying to understand how we can successfully be on YouTube. If you guys have tips and things that we can do to help ourselves, let us know. But we want to just basically follow the rules and make sure we don't get banned. We felt like we were being very educational and staying out of the weeds. So anything helps.
But they can't stop us.
They can't stop us.
We're bringing mushrooms to the masses, making mushrooms easy. And with that, we have two product launches. Launching today is MycoFlow, and launching in a few days is MycoBOOM.
I'm happy to show you guys one of the newest products to the Mushroom Supplies family. Everybody say hello to MycoBOOM.
Hey,
so
MycoBOOM.
This is a lot of people are like, okay, well, what is MycoBOOM? MycoBOOM is a sterile bottle of liquid nutrients. This is really key if you're looking to up your genetics game. This is really key if you're looking to expand your genetics. And it's also a great way for people to save some money and not have to buy countless amount of spore syringes and really just expanding your genetics. So I'm super excited about this product, guys. It's a pretty simple product to use. This works both for spores or for liquid culture. So if you're using it for spores, the purpose of this product would be to jumpstart the germination process and give the spores the necessary nutrients in order to start creating mycelium. What's great about this product is, as opposed to injecting spores into a bag and waiting weeks and weeks and weeks for results for the mycelium to start showing its face, you can really start seeing the transformation of spores to liquid culture in this bottle in front of your eyes within a couple of days. And within 7 to 10 days or so, you will have an entire, call it about 90 mLs or 90 cc's of viable liquid culture to inject into your grow kits. So again, what's great about this product is it works for spores, it works for liquid culture, for dung loving or wood loving. In this case, I have an example of both a spore syringe and a liquid culture syringe, and the applications are very similar. So if you're looking to jumpstart your colonization process when you're injecting genetics into your bag, it's much quicker to start with mycelium than it is to start with spores. As a matter of fact, not only is it much quicker, it's actually much more safe, right? There's a lower risk of contamination if you're injecting mycelium into the grow kits as opposed to injecting spores into the grow kits. The process for injection is the same. So whether you're taking, most spore syringes come in a 10 cc or a 10 ml format. Liquid culture syringes will come in a 10 cc or 20 cc format. Any of those are fine. Just make sure you're not injecting any more than 20 cc's or 20 mLs of liquid culture or any liquid into this bottle. Otherwise, there just won't be enough space in there. The actual process is very simple, though. All you'll do is you'll take the little top off, the little sterile red top. We'll pop that off. You're going to want to use the one of the alcohol pads that comes provided in the liquid culture syringe or the spore syringe. And you're going to want to give it a good wipe on the top here just to make sure everything is super clean. Prepare your spore syringe or your liquid culture syringe. And similar to how you inoculate your bag, you're going to simply just press on the syringe and push the contents of the spores into the vial. At that point, you simply just pull it out slowly. I would even give that top a nice little wipe down again with the alcohol pad, and you're off to the races. Set this in ideal colonization conditions, just like you would your bag, which would ideally be, call it 72 to 78, 79, maybe even 80 degrees steady in order for the spores to start germinating and creating mycelium quicker. Now, if you're going to be injecting liquid culture into MycoBOOM to expand or to make more culture, the process is the same. Prepare your syringe and inject all your liquid culture into your liquid nutrients or your MycoBOOM. Over the course of about 7 or 10 days or so, you're going to see the transformation of all these liquid nutrients turned into more viable liquid culture that then you can use to inoculate 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bags, depending on how much liquid culture you're using in your bags. So this is a great product. These products will come in a 1-pack format or a 3-pack format. If you get the 3-pack format and you have a spore syringe, this is your way to create about 250 milliliters of viable liquid culture with one syringe. So you can see how this could be a tremendous savings for people that are trying to maybe grow on a commercial level or trying to just get more bang for the buck. Same process, you would inject your spores into one of them, let this bottle germinate and turn into mycelium over 7 to 10 days, and then take 5 to 10 cc's of this viable liquid culture and put 5 to 10 cc's into your second bottle or 5 to 10 cc's into your third bottle to create 3 bottles of liquid culture for your inoculation purpose.
All right. So when the process of this product was happening, we really noticed there was a lot of different ways to grow mycelium faster. One was, access to air. The bottle comes with some headspace, and I think that's great. Is there anything that you can point to that helped it grow faster during the process of colonization? Did you guys add anything to the bottles, or did you just leave them sitting there?
Well, we did both just to kind of just do some A/B testing, and what we found was agitating it didn't necessarily increase or speed up the process because this thing grows really quick as it is. It was more of a challenge to kind of figure out how to pressurize, or should I say, make sure that there isn't a negative pressure in there, so that there's ample amount of oxygen in there for the spores to germinate and for the mycelium to continue to develop. So that was more of the challenge, is figuring out how much headspace can we live, how far can we go before it's too much liquid nutrients in there, right? So that you can make sure that you have at least enough room for 10 to 20 cc's of liquid culture or spores to go in there. And at that point, if you do have access to one of those small agitator machines that they use specifically for these types of applications or these types of sterile vials, then that's totally fine. I think you can buy one on Amazon for like 20 or 30 bucks. But we didn't notice a significant difference in the timeline in terms of how quickly this bottle develops into a 90 ml viable bottle of liquid culture. So it's really easy to do, and that was the whole point, is like, how do you get more bang for the buck? How do you get more genetics without having to get all the fancy equipment and get to that next level that requires more of an investment for people in order to kind of take that next step in mycology. So this is a winner in my book.
We love bangs for our bucks. Let's talk about what it's supposed to look like. How do we know that it's working? How do we know when it's ready to inject into a bag? And second part of that question is, if we're not ready, maybe we're waiting for a bag, how long will it last in the bottle?
Great question. So, and I just did a video earlier on this on the difference between spores and liquid culture. Spores will definitely store much longer. right? Liquid culture is one of those things that you have to make sure that your macro environments are correct in order for it to store as long as possible, right? And we're talking, spores you can store for several years. Liquid culture is going to be a couple months, right? Now you can manipulate your temperature a little bit to kind of slow down or speed up the process, right? So if your timeline is, you need, you're not going to have bags for a couple weeks, or you're not looking to inject a bag for several weeks, then I would recommend storing this in a slightly lower temperature, closer to 70 degrees, right? But if you're trying to speed up the process and trying to get to a full bottle of liquid culture within a matter of 7 to 10 days, then you want to bump up the temperature just a few degrees in order for that mycelium to really start multiplying much quicker. That was the first question.
You can always put that in the refrigerator. And again, the colder the temperatures, the slower it goes. And if you're in a temperature like a refrigeration temperature that your common household fridge has, those liquid culture bottles should last a few months at a bare minimum. When you're looking into the liquid, you can see kind of a yellowish tone. The mycelium should be very strong. It should show signs of vigor. There shouldn't be any, spindly or weakness at all. And it's very difficult to know if it's completely safe or not. A lot of times what we're going to have to do is go to that next step, which is agar. But for now, we believe it's a little bit better than just going straight from a spore syringe into a bag. We think it's a great step to take to save yourself that pain of having a bad spore syringe go into a good bag. So just again, be cautious. Look at the mycelium. Look for any unknown flakes or any discoloration. The mycelium is definitely going to be a white in color, very, very vigorous, similar to what Rich is holding up right there.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for. And so when you're injecting this, when you're injecting MycoBOOM with spores, you'll see the clump of the black spores. They're typically black and usually live kind of really close together, kind of clumped up. And over the course of 2 to 3 days, you'll start seeing that transformation, and those black specks start turning into this white mycelium that you see in this liquid culture syringe.
And you
over
don't
the course
need
of the next,
much. Yeah, you don't need much spores, right? So let's say you have a 10 milliliter syringe or 10 cc's of spores. You just need a tiny squirt or very little of spores to germinate in that bottle. And so one 10 cc spore syringe could go into many, many MycoBOOMs over time. And the more you put, the general rule is the faster it goes. But with germination of spores, it's really about getting DNA variation and getting those DNA variations to connect and allow germination to happen. So you just need a little squirt of it. You could definitely do 10 bottles of MycoBOOM with just one spore syringe if you really wanted to spread it out. You could also put the whole thing in there. Again, no real value to doing that other than you're going to have to use it pretty quickly. The 10 cc syringe of spores you could store a lot longer.
It'll be interesting to do time lapses side by side of like 10 cc's of spores, 10 cc's of liquid culture, and just to see how fast it grows.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Let's go.
All right. What about this product makes you each personally excited?
Let me go first real quick, because this is one of the things that we try to go into the mindset of every day when we come to the office is how do we make it easier, right? And we know what the challenges are because we see the customer tickets, right? So customer service gets countless tickets, hundreds of tickets every single day, people asking great questions. And a lot of those, a big percentage of those questions often come down to timelines, meaning, they submit something and say, hey, I injected my spores into my 5-pound all-in-one bag, 4 weeks ago, and I don't see anything yet, right? Should I be worried, right? So after getting those, dozens and dozens and dozens, if not, more questions like that of like, is this going correctly? Did I fail? Is there something wrong? It really came down to, number one, the education of understanding the timeline differences between injecting spores into a grow kit and injecting liquid culture. But then it came to, the sooner that we can show people that something is happening, right? Just something, right? There's a change happening, the more belief that that person will have that it's working, right? So this is kind of our this is that product that will show people that their spores are going through the germination process and it's working and it's creating mycelium, and this bottle slowly but surely develops this giant mycelium network, and now you have enough liquid culture to inoculate 4 to 8 grow kits, depending on what size and depending on how much viable liquid culture you put into it. So what excites me about this is the fact that people get to see a result quicker, and they get to see it right in front of their face, right? You can't, when you inject spores into a grow bag, no matter how much you kind of manipulate the plastic, it's really difficult to see what the spores are doing inside the bag in that initial germination process when it starts developing the mycelium. So this is a great product for people that really want to geek out on it and see how that transformation happens. From spores to liquid culture, or for liquid culture to be expanded into more liquid culture.
Yeah, I've got two things, and I'll start with the first that's really obvious, which is saving money. I mean, it's a huge win for people that are on a budget. Spore syringes are not cheap. You can get them from $20 to $30, but those spore syringes, if they go into one grow bag, it can start adding up. And so I think this is a huge product for people that want to save money. Taking one spore syringe, making it into multiple spore syringes, that's a huge win. That's number one. Number two, I think it's super important to understand how germination works, and germination requires perfect conditions. The reason that spores really have evolved is because they want to store in a dormant format, and it's not until those conditions are perfect that they will start showing their hyphal knots and their hyphal structures. And so, if you're doing it inside of a grow kit in a bag, one of the innovations that we did is when we took all the substrate and the grain, we put it together. And a lot of times what happens is if those spores don't get the perfect climate, it might take a long time for those germination processes to happen. And so what we're doing is we're really jump-starting the germination process and giving people a huge head start on the timeline so that they are putting full-blown germinated mycelium into a bag instead of waiting for the perfect germination process to happen with inside the grow kit. So I think it's a great way for us to jumpstart these things. And I think it's a great way for people that are just learning to, as you said, Rich, watch the process.
We love to see it grow. I'm excited. A question I have is, does this turn spores into liquid culture, or does it just amplify their process of turning from spores to liquid culture to mycelium?
So what happens is the spores are actually germinating. And when those spores germinate, that DNA is actually creating mycelium. And so when the spores germinate, they become mycelium. When we give you a bottle of MycoBOOM, we call it liquid nutrient because liquid nutrient is just water with, in our case, peptones and sugars to allow the perfect conditions for spores to grow. Now, once that happens, once the germination process begins, it is now live mycelium. And spores have now become mycelium, and now mycelium is growing inside of that bottle. So that transformation from spores to mycelium takes place. And now you have a bottle of liquid culture, which is defined by liquid nutrients with mycelium. And that is a great place to be when you're trying to go into a grow kit in a bag. It's an easy step to go from mycelium to a grow kit in a bag versus having to germinate the spores in the grow kit in a bag, wait all that amount of time, and not have visual, contact with what's going on.
Fascinating. Well, I'm excited to do some side-by-sides of spores without MycoBOOM, spores with MycoBOOM. A time lapse just so everyone can see how it's working and know that this is something that they need for all their next purchases. We should perhaps add this into the beginner bundle.
I think it's a great idea. I think people will benefit greatly by watching the process from day one. Day one processes are always helpful when you're going into something new. To Rich's point, we really have a hard time answering some of these tickets because it's just patience that's required. And a lot of times people are excited and so are we. And so sometimes it's, 4, 5, 6, 10 days. And they're like, what's going on? Where's my mushrooms? And people have to realize that germination process, just like it is in the forest, it's very precious. It's very hard to replicate in perfect environments. And so you've got to have the perfect hand. You've got to have the right temperature, the right environment. And that germination process needs to happen inside that bag. Whereas in this case, we really can jumpstart it and visually watch and identify what's going on.
Love it. So MycoBOOM coming at you in the next couple days. Then we have MycoFlow, which is for our little more advanced invested mycologists. Who would like to explain what MycoFlow is and what it's all about?
Yeah, so I think, when you go into mushrooms and you start looking at what's required to get into mushrooms, the reason we exist and the reason that Mushroom Supplies got started is because we wanted to make it easy. We wanted to take a lot of these steps and condense them down and limit the amount of touch points between the person that's just learning and the amount of times they have to go and touch something so that we can stop the contamination and stop the spread of contamination so that beginners get a great experience. And so what we're offering is a flow hood. Flow hoods are standard in all clean rooms. They'll be in the ceilings. Flow hoods will be also used to do any type of agar work or any type of work at all where you're required to have a sterile environment. So flow hood etiquette is a huge deal, and we'll get into flow hood etiquette. But really what's happening is you're stepping in front of a fan system. That fan system is blowing air through a HEPA filter, and you're working in front of that flow of air. And as the body is positioned to allow the air to blow across your workspace, you're getting a bunch of clean, fresh air in your workspace that is overtaking all the possibilities of contamination because that flow of air is creating a stream of safety, basically. And so from the etiquette perspective, when you buy a flow hood from us, they're 2 feet by 4 feet, and you would set it up on any type of workbench or table, similar to like a stainless steel table you'd get at a restaurant store. And you work in front of it in a way where your body does not impede the flow of air, because that flow of air is your safe haven. So when you're working on injecting a grow kit in a bag, or maybe you're actually doing a grain to grain transfer where you're taking a grain bag, cutting it open, you can set that grain bag wide open right in front of a flow hood. Our MycoFlow product will actually allow you to work in front of it slowly and efficiently so that you don't have to freak out and have a lot of fear around contamination. The flow hood will protect you. It'll create that force field, if you will. And I think the most important part about these flow hoods is that not only do they allow you to work in front of them, but you can turn that thing on and go, grab a coffee or a tea and come back, and that room's actually going to be a lot cleaner because it's flushed a lot of that air. So when you do a calculation, they use the term CFM, cubic feet per minute. And what you can do is you can calculate the total cubic feet of your room by taking the width, first the length, first the height, and you get a total cubic feet. And what a flow hood can do is clean the entire existence of the size of that room within minutes. And what they do to rate clean rooms, so different ratings for different levels of clean rooms, is based on how fast that room can be evacuated with new clean air. So what I always recommend is giving the flow hood anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to run in the room before you do any processes. They're scientific. By doing that, you clean your environment. Then once you get in there and you work in front of the flow hood, you're even safer. The benefit to having these HEPA air filters is that they are really thick. What they're doing is they're stopping particles before they get through the filter. So, we actually provide a pre-filter on the fan unit itself. So when you're getting air, it's going through a pre-filter, then it's pushing through a HEPA filter. And what that does is it saves the expensive cost of replacing a HEPA filter. We're actually taking all the hard work and putting it on the pre-filter. It's washable, so you can take that pre-filter out, wash it by hand, put it back and use it over and over again. This pre-filter will stop all the large contaminants from plugging up your HEPA filter. And really what matters is the flow of air being even. So one of the things that we're going to offer in the future is a particle tester, and this is something that's really unique and rare. But what you'll be able to do is hold this tester in front of the HEPA filter or in any room or environment and see how much particles are in the air. We can't tell you exactly what those particles are, but we can tell you with a $200 to $300 unit what is in front of you as far as how much particle count there is. So MycoFlow is huge for those advanced mycologists. We're starting to see a lot more people come forward with a lot more knowledge. They're like, how do we speed this thing up? And the best way to do that is grain to grain transfers and getting grain and expanding it into substrate and moving quickly. If you want to do that, you can't do that without a flow hood. So MycoFlow is going to be that product for those people that want to go to that next step, get more yield over less time. And I think I'm probably more excited about this product than any product we've launched in a long time, because it gives people a safe haven to grow and operate their mushroom farm. And they don't have to stress about maybe it's going to be contaminated or maybe it's not, and waiting weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this product too, because when we were kind of transitioning from, hey, we're trying to figure out mycology, trying to learn, one of the first investments that I made was a flow hood. And I call it an investment because it's not a cheap piece of equipment. This is actually a very high grade commercial piece of the equipment. The same type of flow hood that you would mount into a ceiling in a commercial application, or into a wall in a commercial application, that you can set up at your home, in your desk, in your little area, in your mini lab, wherever, to create that safe zone. Speaking a little bit more on just kind of the features of this for those of you guys that want to geek out on it. So Kevin had talked about CFM. This flow hood is capable, it has a 750 CFM rating, meaning every 750 cubic feet per minute, that air is being recirculated. So when you do that calculation, you'll be able to calculate exactly how many minutes or how many times per minute that area will be cleaned based on that. A couple features on it is a UL ETL certified flow hood, meaning all the electronic components are US components, right? It's a 110 plug, so it can plug directly into your wall. There's also an application that if you want to hardwire it, again, if you're using it for a commercial application, there's a way for you to just hardwire it. And it also features 3 speeds. So we always recommend keeping it on the highest, that way you just have the highest amount of clean air in front of you, but it does give you the ability to toggle it between low, medium, and high. Couple other features. So HEPA, when we're talking about HEPA and when we're talking about science, science is very, there's a big difference between 0% and 1%, right? 1% in science, if there's 1% chance of anything, it's catastrophic, right? So in science, you want to try to get to as close to 0, if not 0, as possible. Well, this HEPA air filter will filtrate 99.995% of all particulates in the air. So you're really, really, really going to have a clean area. And there's really only one more application, which is called an OLPA. It's a little bit more expensive too. That filters 99.999% of particulates. But this, along with Kevin, I'm super excited about, because this is kind of like your first step into big boy mycology, your first step into, okay, I've learned how to grow the all-in-one kits. I've learned how to, I've mastered the basics, and now I'm ready kind of for that next level of learning how to play with grains and how to expand genetics using grains and how to inoculate substrates using those grains. That's really kind of like the next level. And that's why I'm really excited about it, because I remember when I was there and I was like, okay, I'm ready for the next step of mycology. What do I need to do? What do I need to get next? It was the flow hood. That was the first thing that came to that I got.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, our product, the Grow Kit in a Bag, is meant to be used in an environment that may not have a flow hood, right? So one of the things I always recommend, if you were to try to replicate, a clean environment, is if you're doing an inoculation, go where there's no moving air. Go where there's a lot of sterile surfaces, like a bathroom or things that can be cleaned that are non-porous. Those are going to be your best starting points for inoculating a Grow Kit in a Bag if you're just getting started. what these fans do is they actually give you the ability to really secure your future with regard to the success of your bag, because now you're taking all percentage chance of failure out of the equation. Whereas if you're doing it in a bathroom and it's not moving air and you're taking, you know, a lot less risk, there's still that tiny, tiny chance that something happens where a particle ends up on a needle. You know, that's the rare occasion, but again, it happens. And then you got a lot of providers pointing at each other, whether it's the spore provider or the supply company. And this is one way to eliminate that ambiguity and just create a really successful platform to grow mushrooms for the future. So like Rich said, it is an investment, but it also takes away all that pain of having to deal with returning or dealing with something that you might not even understand why it went bad. It might just be that there's particulates in a certain spot in your house and the bag got contaminated because of it.
Let's talk about, we purchase it. The cost is what, 1,000?
So we're actually looking at launching at $1,200. And the reason we're doing a $1,200 deal is we find that to be super competitive in the market. We also are actually shipping it out at roughly around $300, and that covers your transportation and insurance so that it makes it safely to you. These filters are very sensitive. Anything that goes through them or hits them or whatnot is a serious way to lose um, the power of the filter itself. And so we're actually including insurance in the shipping. If you go shop around and you look at different providers of these machines, you'll find that it's also very expensive to ship these things. A lot of providers are charging upwards of $400-$500 to ship it. What we've done is we've gone and taken the extra step of scientifically protecting the unit through multiple different packages and protecting it in a way where it gets to you safely with insurance. And I think that if we come out with that price point, we're going to have a lot of love. But if we get to a place where we can actually find savings, we'll pass that along to our customers along the way.
What's great about these is the filter, for instance, will last up to 10,000 hours, right? So if you take care of it correctly, going back to what Kevin was saying about the pre-filter, making sure that you check on that pre-filter every couple of weeks, making sure that it's not all gunked up, making sure that you take the time to wash that pre-filter, then this piece of equipment will last you a very long time. So it really is an investment into your hobby or into your business or into your career or whatever in mycology.
Yeah, and to Rich's point, the CFM rating is really important because, we have this fan unit that's connected to this HEPA filter, and it's got to push all the air through that filter, and that filter is taking particulates down from, whatever it is to 99.995. That's a lot of work. And so that CFM is used to push all that air through that filter. And if you keep it clean, you have a very high probability of having a exactly rated 99.995 particulate filter. If you get it to a place where it gets dirtier and dirtier, what happens is that fan has to work extra hard to push it through that HEPA filter, creating less airflow, which is less protection. And it also increases the chance of particulates coming out through the filter, which is very, very hard to do, but it's possible if that thing gets really dirty. So all that you're really watching is that pre-filter. And then after about 10,000 hours or a lifetime of use, then you'd be looking at replacing the filter itself. Sometimes things happen. Cats, maybe a dog gets a hold of a filter or something. We will have replacements available. So you can actually order the filter separate from the fan unit. But the filter itself is a very expensive part of this whole unit.
Let's talk about the installation. So they receive it, they open it. Do they have to cut some holes to let out the exhaust? What's that process like?
I'll let Rich take
Pretty
that
simple, actually. Again, it goes back to if it's a simple application, like you're using it, you're kind of newer, you're a hobbyist, right? And you want to just set it on your desk or set it on your workspace. You just want to make sure that you're going to be setting it away enough from the wall so that pre-filter can actually suck in the air that's behind it there. So just make sure it's not up against the wall. We're going to provide an instructional video on how to actually assemble it. Again, this is a commercial grade piece of equipment. So 9.9 times out of 10, these will be mounted into walls or into ceilings, and they'll require a specific T-bar that installers will know exactly what to use. If you're using it in a home application, we're actually going to provide this as a special HVAC tape, which is a kind of a heavy metal tape that has a sticky side and then the metal side with perfect sizes for you to seal it off correctly so that you can attach the filter portion to the fan portion and create a seal all the way around it. And at that point, then you can manipulate it or use it. You can use it in a 4x2 manner, or you can stand it up and use it in a 2x4 manner. I've seen multiple flow hoods stacked next to each other as well. Typically what you'll see for a hobbyist type of application is you'll want to set it up so that you have 4 feet in front of you and about 2 feet up, and that's going to be the area that you're going to be working in front of that flow hood.
Yeah, and Rich makes a great point. The flow hood is 2 feet high, right? If you use the application where you're working in front of a 2-foot high application, this thing is the barrier, right? So as soon as you cross above 2 feet, if you start doing things like a grain transfer above the flow hood, where you break that safety barrier, you're going to lose all the benefit of that flow hood. And so while you're working in front of a flow hood, it's really important to stay within the airflow. Don't turn your body. Don't block the air with your hands. So always having an open body and having the air flow against you across your workspace versus impeding the air in any form or fashion. If you were to put your hand in front and pour the grain, that hand is blocking all that clean air, allowing particles to fall down or particles to come in that you don't want there. So it's very important to stay within that flow of air. And the etiquette is to always have your body open and your workspace in front of you. If you were to mount that, above you and have the air blowing down, then you would always want to stay back and lean back, because if you start leaning over and the air is blowing on top of your head, then it's actually, again, impeding the ability to be clean. So whether you're having it in an application where the air is blowing down or an application where it's blowing across, generally we're going to see people on a table blowing across them. And that's completely fine. If you're doing that, you just want to make sure your hands are not blocking the fan while you're working.
Yeah. And another common question is, now that I have a HEPA air filter, am I still going to have to use PPE? And the answer is absolutely yes. So you're still going to want to use the gloves. You're going to want to use your mask and make sure that you're clean, because anything that's in front of that flow hood could potentially drop in your bag if, again, that motion of your hand in front of the bag can blow particulates off of your skin. So just make sure you're clean. The dogs are put away, the cats are put away. Isopropyl is your friend. 70% isopropyl alcohol is your friend. Use it. Use your mask up, and make sure you wear gloves when you're doing these applications.
Yeah, make sure you send us a picture of your setup. We're definitely interested in seeing how people set these things up. I think it's exciting. A lot of people put stickers on theirs and kind of build it out how they want to build it out, and it kind of gives you a nice sense of ownership. And getting into mushrooms can be fun using other tools that make it safer. So excited to have this out there in the wild. Please send us photos of you using the hood. It's exciting for us to see how the applications come through, and look forward to that launch.
Okay, so in previous episodes, we've chatted about MycoMentor, which is artificial intelligence supporting us in helping to make mushrooms easy. We're not quite there, to the point that we're stoked on it. We have a chat bot on our website right now that we are training every single time we get an inquiry. Let's chat about the chat bot. Some people get frustrated. They just want to talk to a real person. But what are the benefits of the existing chat bot on our website?
So number one, it takes all of the content that we've provided to the public, and it gives you an interface where you can have a conversation, right? So that's the benefit of it, is that you can feel more conversational, so you don't have to go digging through information to find information. One of the issues with it is that you're not going to get, images to this bot and the bot tell you about the images, right? So we're not there yet. So really it's about taking manuals and knowledge bases and information and making it a conversational thing so that the conversation is happening with all the content of our website. And it's not something that you have to go dig around and find the solution. That is where it is the strongest. The weakest is where you're trying to interact with showing an image, or you're trying to do things that may require a little bit more in-depth analysis. That's when you'll just escalate to a human. We'll pass it along to our customer service team, and generally they'll get back to you within 24 hours. If it's a weekend, we'll get back to you on that Monday early in the morning, and hopefully faster if somebody's available in the weekend. But generally speaking, Monday through Friday, we're answering tickets within 24 hours.
All right, guys. Well, these are very exciting innovations and products that we've been looking forward to launching for a while. What other future innovations or developments can we expect from mushroomsupplies.com in the future?
Well, I think the biggest one is that we're really working towards creating a lot of video tutorials. One of our biggest issues right now is that we've got a lot of fragmented information, and it's really important to us to maybe lower the production quality right now and just get more content out there for you guys. So bear with us as we increase our production quality, but we really need the content out there for you guys. So one of the most exciting things for us is really creating these video modules where everything is broken into bite-sized chunks, TikTok-sized chunks, if you will, so that you can digest the information quickly, but also go to exactly where you want to go in that section versus having to sift through a long video and understand every single part of that video. You literally can just go to the part you want to go to. So these video modules are being built right now. We expect to have them live really quickly in the next few weeks as a maximum, hopefully faster. We also have a lot of exciting news around working within the community. So one of the things we're looking to do is have these advanced modules open up where community members can come in and be experts and create their own master classes about whether it's germination and creating their own genetic, or whether it's about storing genetics for a long period of time. We want to interact with the world in a way where the community can start educating and be a part of our platform and use their education to speak to our consumers. And then at the end of it, they can also buy products from those community members. Example would be if someone came and taught you how to make a supplement. Like, let's say we were growing our own lion's mane. We want to know how to make it into a capsule. What's the dosage? That person could come on, explain it to our community, and at the end offer up those supplements that they just taught you how to build. And I think that the community engagement is going to go through the roof. We'll be able to really get deep into the education aspect and not lean on our education to do it. We can go out there where there's even bigger and bigger experts in each of the fields and really figure out what's next in mycology by using the world of our community and not having to do this whole learning process ourselves. And as you said, with Myco Mentor, one of the biggest values of having something that's constantly learning is that it will get better and our tickets will get easier to handle, and customers will be able to not only educate themselves with the videos, but they'll be able to interact while they're watching the video in real time so that you don't have to write an email, wait for the response, write an email, wait for the response. You can literally watch the video, ask the mentor a question, and then get that response back. And that will help you through the process of using our products, but also making sure that you come back happy and want to spend more money, but also you're having mushrooms at the end of it, not just contamination or mold or failure. With that said, MycoProtect is always there. We really push for people to add MycoProtect to their package. All it does is offset our cost of the loss if anything were to happen. So when people have issues with their bags, all we're asking is that if you buy MycoProtect, it allows us to support you in a better manner without losing a ton of cash. And it really puts us in a position to have a beginner who completely failed still have interest in mushrooms and not walk away and be sad.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm most excited about is a cute little mushroom growing. We don't even know what we're calling it yet, but you can stick your wood-loving bag into this beautiful, it's not a device, it's a...
Pleasing display.
Yeah, and that way you're not just looking at this plastic and mycelium, which is beautiful in and of itself. But if we want it to be on our kitchen counter and, just watch the process of growing and we're only looking at the mushrooms, that's something I'm really excited about. still in the works with that, but I think that's going to be huge for all of our wood-loving friends who do want to grow more supplements or to grow pink oysters for tacos or what have you. So that's something I'm excited about. Anything else for our significantly smaller audience that we hope to increase in size in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I think just everybody just be patient with us. We're going to work our butts off to get as much content out there as fast as possible. But if you have a contact at YouTube, please let us know. We're trying to get our station back, and to do that, we would, reward. Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode of the Mushroom Supplies Podcast.
Bye.